I'm trying hard
Why are you trying
to move past it, but I can't move past it.
So why are you trying?
Don't try, bro.
It's all well and good pledging that on social media and everyone going, oh yeah, this is great, but it's like, okay, but who's even
logistically,
have you even got enough black people that work for you that can even advise on how this is best spent?
Leadership wasn't bringing it up.
No,
it was. If black people had allowed it, black people and their allies had allowed it, it would have been business as normal.
100%.
the word itself sounds so mad. Like, oh, black. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, oh, shit. Like, yo. All right, cool. Boom. Let's get into some conversation now. Oh, and actually, one last thing. I realised, as an adult, I have to stop taking some of the risks that I take now. Because I'm driving. Do you know what I did today? Brother, I'm driving down the road with no petrol in my car on a mad childish one, you know. I remember on my way here, I was thinking to myself, I was looking at my tank. I was looking at my tank and I was thinking, imagine I broke down. And then you lot come here and then you say, where's Chuck? And I say, I've broken down because I didn't put petrol in my car.
We've got to get you a jerry can.
Oh,
That's just awkward.
I'm like, yo, that is
I did the same thing today. I was driving to Shoreditch.
On red.
Yeah, and you know, there's the before you get to City Road, there's the co-op by the McDonald's, and I was sitting in mad traffic from way back, and I'm looking at the thing. It's gone. It was on 2 bars. Like, it starts flashing when it's like, you know, it's low now, and then it went to the final bar, and I'm looking at it like, yeah, man, I'll make it. And then I was sat still, and I was thinking, I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna break down on City Road. I'm gonna be on the road traffic. You know the radio? Like, delays
outside with foil on your back.
Genuinely. I literally was like preempting the embarrassment, but I made it. It was cool. I got there.
I'm not trying to be standing outside with foil on my back.
Like one victim. Oh yeah.
Shut
I was childish today too. Still.
But
never again though. It was off brand.
So yeah, like the people I have on the couch today are not. They're not like, obviously, are regular people, human beings and that, but not regular in the sense of just, oh, like Chucks, I just want to come on the pod to discuss whatever. Yeah, no, this is like, we got some influence in here. How about that? Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. But what I want to do, firstly, just so that some people can be familiar with you, could you just go through a little bit about what it is that you do?
Okay, Dad.
Do I have to start?
Yes.
No, actually, make Seb start. Seb, you go.
Seb, you should start.
What do you do, bro?
I'm an A&R.
Right.
So at A&R at a distributor called Believe. I'm an A&R over there, so I'm working numerous projects and whatnot. And then I also sit on the independent strand of the Black Music Coalition.
Right.
And that's it in a nutshell, without going into too much, unless you want more.
No. You go, Sheryl.
So I am a lawyer, a barrister, and I am
do you know why? Like, why did I not know that you was like? Are you practicing? Oh yes. What, a music lawyer or like a criminal?
A music lawyer, yeah.
Oh, we got to have a different conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I read books on that. Like, it's one of my favorite, like one of my things. But yeah, go on anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
And I chair the Black Music Coalition.
Right. And you, time ago. Yeah, you brought this to my attention. You did a podcast with someone that I've known for a long time, actually.
Lala, she sends her love, by the way.
Yeah, honourable shout out to Lala. She was here. She's been here before.
Really?
Yeah, when we were early filming. I can't remember what we was talking about. It was when we was in that studio over there.
Yeah, what
I've
were we
seen
talking
that
about?
one.
I can't remember. Well, was with Poet there.
Yes, Poet was there. Was it about?
Yeah, I remember who exactly. I don't know.
Was it about?
Oh wow,
about black
early.
women. Something about.
I can't remember. I really can't remember.
I've definitely seen it, and I know she was. And you came to our podcast.
And I came to your podcast, yeah.
And I completely can't remember.
I remember it. I definitely remember it, but I've forgotten until you told me.
Lars sent me the episodes, and I'm
still there.
I literally said to her, "This is wild," because I watch your podcast on like YouTube.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like when I'm watching it, why don't I have this thought of, remember when?
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, Poet came as well. And I'm like...
Yeah, I remember we was talking about Beyonce in that one.
That's what she said. We took the title's got Beyonce in it. I have like mad gaps in my social memory.
Yeah. So do I though.
There's nothing there. If you say this happened, I'll tell you you're lying.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those. I'm just like, did they? She's like, yeah, don't you remember? I was like...
How do you find like working in like the criminal like aspect of your work? Like, you must see some really interesting stuff and like obviously come across some proper interesting cases. I read a book by Alexandra Wilson, I think her name is. It's in black and white, and she was talking about her experiences and like also you know, like some of the things that even like young black people face in the court system and stuff like that. You must see a lot of this, right?
Yeah. So I love the people. I hate the system.
Right.
And when I say the people, I mean my clients and stuff. You know, I'm just like, that's the kind of thing that kind of got me into it. People, I'm a people person. I'm like you. I like chatting to people, hearing their stories. I advocate on behalf of people. But yeah, I just I don't like the system. So yeah, it's like we can talk about that.
Yeah, of course. I know. I could. You know, I got a million. I got a million. But we'll do that another time. You go.
I'm Komali again. I'm an A&R at Parlophone Records.
Real G.
And I am one of the founding members and sit on the executive committee of the Black Music Coalition.
Right.
I also run a space called The Debrief, which is, at the moment, obviously in pandemic life, it's an online space for black women and women of colour in the music industry.
Right.
Mostly execs, but, you know, in turn we champion black female artists and women of colour that are artists too. And what else do I do? I've got a clothing brand called King's Ransom London.
Nice.
Yeah, that's me.
How's the industry treated you? Such a big question.
It's a massive question, but as a whole, I think I've had a pretty positive experience so far. Like, I've been in A&R, like my actual A&R job for 3 years now, and then before that I was an intern. I was doing radio promo, which it was just my kind of foot into the label world. But before that, I just did music and worked amongst it for the love of it, really.
Yeah, because I've been seeing you around for however many years.
I know, so many
And I love, I love that, you know, because one thing that I like here is that, like, when you are a fan of something, yeah, so let's just say, for example, the common denominator is music. Like, we have a genuine love for music. We might be going certain places and you just start seeing some of the same people. Yeah. People that are like, you know, have their own aspirations or just hustling, trying to do their thing or whatnot. And that's why I always tell people, I'm like, listen, it's so good to connect, because as you start progressing, you start seeing other people around you progressing. And then ultimately it makes phone calls easier, because we already have a thing. We already have a foundation. We can already speak on a certain type of level because we've seen each other around, and that there's definitely some power in that. But yeah, you were someone I've been seeing around for a long time out here. I know. Out here hustling and whatnot, and it's so good that you've been found your feet. Do you get me?
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Names you signed?
I've got Hamza, who is a 22-year-old singer-songwriter from Hackney. She's called like one of the, I think, obviously biased, but one of the best voices that we've seen in a long time. She's just dropped a track with Mira May called In Between, which is very cold. Well. You know, it's a very like much a female empowerment moment, and kind of like very on brand. I think it's probably the most on brand song I've ever worked on. Super excited about her. And then Manelia as well. She's another new R&B singer. 2 dark-skinned black women as well, I might add, which is not an easy feat in this game. But again, super talented, queen of R&B. She's come in, hardest worker. Neat. Yeah, those are 2 so far. I've had some others, but
cool.
Yeah.
You're working. You're working. You're working. So I'm going to go on a small tangent to get to the point of like, you know, the conversation of where we're at, yeah. I had a conversation with Tinchy, and I was saying to Tinchy, yeah, I have now made a promise to myself that like there's certain videos I can't watch anymore. Today, I saw someone sent me a video of this young youth that was being stabbed in Birmingham.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
There was at first I saw the Hyde Park thing,
yeah,
and these youths are running up and down the place with the machetes and whatnot, and like just trying to chop each other and stuff. And then I saw like another video footage of these guys that were stabbing this 14-year-old boy. He had he had something with him as well, but it looked like they were just stabbing him and whatnot, yeah. And I'm watching this and I'm saying to myself, I don't know how much more of this type of stuff. Like, this is not good to be taking in things like this. Like, it's it's like almost the norm to see these type of things now. Do you know what I mean? And then even, you know, going back and seeing like what happened with George Floyd and whatever, yeah. If I'm being honest, I feel like I was so desensitized to stuff that at the time that it happened, obviously I know that it's mad, but I've seen so much of things like that it's like, you know what? It's just another one of those mad situations that happen. But this time last year, it got to a point where I feel like a lot of us and a lot of people are like, no, hold on, there needs to be a conversation. Like, we actually need to talk about this because there's a lot of trauma in this. And also with that, we're now becoming desensitized to something that we should not be becoming desensitized to. So I say all of that to say this. Talk to me a little bit about, or not even a little bit, but talk to me about the Black Music Coalition, because I know that had started from essentially what happened to George Floyd and the viral video that went around with him.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
The thing is, I'm not in music, right? But when that happened, obviously I have friends, well not obviously, but I have friends who are in that industry, and just so many conversations were happening across quite a few professions. But just before I get into what was happening there, people looking and talking in their workspaces, let's just go back to the whole thing about trauma. So like, these things that we see and hear and that happen on the news, Black people being killed, brutalized, stuff like that, they have an effect. And I think it's the continuous nature of them. You think that you're desensitized, but actually I don't think it is. I don't think that we are desensitized. I think that what we're doing is just laying the trauma on top of each other, and it feels like it's normal and normalized, but it's not. And you find ways of coping with it and dealing with it because we still have to get on. And getting on is what we do. Like, we go to work, we still have to take care of the kids, we got to do all of that sort of stuff. George Floyd happened at a moment of pause. So there was some stuff that we weren't doing. We weren't getting up at 7 a.m, jump in a shower, getting ready, having...
Man was getting up at 12:30.
Do you know what I mean?
Man was getting up midday with no remorse. Comfortable.
With no specific plan for the day. So you had a lot more. I know in that period I had a lot more thinking time. I had a lot more time to just like be. So when something like that happens at a time where you're not bombarded with all your day-to-day kind of things that you have to get on and do, I think what it means is that you are open. You're open, and then you respond to it. You respond in the natural way you would have. And the way people responded was with absolute shock, disgust, like trauma, being triggered, and, you know, obviously talking to each other. And when I say people, I'm talking about, like, my whole lifestyle is very Black, right? So I work in quite a white profession, a very white profession, but my lifestyle is very black. So when I talk about people, I'm talking about my people. We're talking about it, we're reacting to it, we're like, the fuck? But then you realise that some of the world is not reacting like that. And so you turn to your people and you start talking about it. And people were just like, nah. You know that George Floyd video? I haven't watched all of it. I saw some of it. But that's effectively a snuff video. I don't watch stuff like that. We should not be... Like, you know when you see or you hear of videos being sent round of people being purposely killed, like beheaded, all of that kind of shit. You won't put yourself through that. That wouldn't be displayed somewhere so openly. But we were shown over and over and over and over a snuff video. That's what that shit was. So there's layers of May 25th, you know. There's layers that it happened, that it kept being shown. There was just so much.
Do you know, like you mentioned, that like when all of that happened, like we turned like to, you know, some people was talking about it, and on the pod we always talk on and off about these type of things, and I've always felt like with my circle of friends or whatever, whoever that may not be black, we could talk openly and honest about stuff and they get it. But one thing that really upset me was when I realized, wow, there's actually one or two that don't. And I never said this, but like there was a couple of conversations that I had. There was one in particular, that like to this day I'm still finding it very difficult to move past it. Like I'm trying hard to move past it, but I can't move past it.
So why are you trying?
Don't try, bro.
I don't know.
Who's that for? Why are you trying for?
I don't know. I ask myself that all of the time. I think, you know, because that friendship was a very deep one. Maybe this isn't for now, but you know what? Like there was just a couple of things that I just found it very difficult to get, and that's when I think in that conversation, that was when it was like, kind of going to what you were speaking about in terms of like saying, we ultimately we're not desensitized to it. We're just putting like just layers in it, But at that point, my reaction to that conversation and how I felt, it all started coming up. Do you get what I'm saying? And that was like also in some senses me addressing actually how I, you know, just verbalizing how I really feel. And what upset me was that like that person wasn't able to just actually sit back and listen and be like, wow, you know what? I didn't realize it was like that for you. You know, sometimes I'm sitting here and I'm joking. We talk about certain things or whatever. I might talk about an experience that I had when I was in a different country or whatever, and I'm joking about it. I'm telling the truth, but I'm delivering it in a way where we can just laugh and joke or whatever. But like, essentially deep how that must have felt though. When you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. But I think that's what we naturally do as peoples, because like if you're from the bottom, like 90% of us, do you know what I mean? You naturally would do that. Is you can't really articulate your emotions and whatnot. The easiest thing to do is play it off with humour or some sort of comedy, right? Because then it's just like you're never really touching the surface. And you're like Sheryl just said, you're adding like another layer to it. But do you know what I mean? You're never really getting into it. And I think that whole period of lockdown and then the George Floyd thing happening made people everyone was already tapping into their emotions and feeling stuff. And then that just kind of tipped it over and made people be like, actually, let me really face this shit, like have awkward conversations with friends or even with bosses or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Because I think it was evident for everyone to see, like, no matter how far we feel we've come as people, as humans, we've still got a long way to go. If this stuff's still happening in the heat of a lockdown in 2020 was? 2020, do you know what I mean? in what is considered the civil world. Do you know what I mean? We're not living in third world countries where this is happening. This is developing. Take that bit out, bro. No, in developing.
She's a lawyer, you know. Don't play when it comes to words. Yeah.
No.
Don't ramp with her.
No,
yeah?
but do you know what I mean? We're living in countries where like they pride themselves on being civil and so-called proper. So for that to happen, I think it just made a lot of people start thinking. And I had a lot of conversations with people, like just ringing me brethren that I hadn't spoke to for time. That like, you know, just weird to hear some of the things they were saying, like people that are doing, you know, never had a job or whatever, you know what I mean, guys that just do what you would say is an archetypal job for a young black man. Do you know what I mean? Like literally tapping into emotions and feeling things that they hadn't, and actually really reevaluating maybe how they approach things and how they carry themselves. Do you know what I mean? So I think, I just think it sparked something in everyone, and some people, didn't. Some people just was like, oh, you know, it's not. Is it that bad for you guys? Like, you know, you're in England. It can't be that.
And
bad.
that was kind of like how that conversation started happening in the workplace now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was that by force now? And when I say by force, I mean not just so much what's happening outside. Was that because of what the colleagues and the employees were bringing into the office now, or were they willing to just by themselves say, you know what, hold on, is there a conversation we need to have?
You know what it is? I think, like, just to kind of reiterate what these guys have said, I think it was a perfect storm. At that moment, we'd been in lockdown for 2 months, and you know, none of us have ever lived through this before. Like, I don't think anyone in living memory, I don't know if there's been pandemics in other countries where it's not been global like this, and people are losing family members, they're not seeing their family, they're working from home under stressful conditions. Maybe you're not working from home, maybe you can't, money's cut. Like, it was very bleak for a lot of people, do you know what I mean? And like everyone said, there was more time whether you're working or not. You had time to really just be like, wow. Also for people, I think the power in it was actually the fact that we were in this pandemic, and for the first time, non-black people were getting almost a taste of what it's like to not be part of the favoured. Right. Because it was like, raw, hold on, so we're all in this boat now. It doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, you've got a nice job. Of course. Because they never tasted that before. This is a country that never... Genuinely, anyone can get it. That's what it was. Because there's people that, like, they've never questioned the government before. They've never thought, that the government are moving mad, you know, apart from like general elections and this MP or that MP or this Prime Minister or whatever. They've never actually had enough of a reason that really rocked their day to day, and you know, the fact they couldn't go to the pub, these things that really strike a deeper chord in terms of their day to day life. They've never had to deal with that the way that we as black people and other minorities that, you know, are persecuted and have been for a long time, like the experiences you spoke about. It's like, we can all sit here and banter. We've all got a story about being in another country and this mad thing happened.
And
got
this
chased by dogs.
Well.
And this country got chased by dogs. You know, it was mad. I had to. Do you get? We can all get it, and it's like, funny, but it wasn't funny because most of my white friends don't have a similar story for the same reasons. Right. Do you get me? And I think that period of time was like, everybody was reflecting, and I think the world has also been, you know, on that shift for a minute, like the Me Too movement. There's been I guess a cultural awakening, but it wasn't as race focused as that. And I think the George Floyd video, which I couldn't watch, I don't watch any of them videos. I think that's not, I don't think it's appropriate for any of us to watch it. To me, it just like harks back to, it's like a lynching video, innit? Like back in the day when they were lynching black people in public, and you know, white people would come and have a picnic in front of it and bring their kids and and
that was a day out. That was a vibe.
To me, that's just a modern day version of it. And now we're on Twitter and we can, you know, have a discourse about it. It's weird to me, but obviously, I think the key thing about that video is the length of time of it. And I think afterwards it was like, raw, so what? That really happened, and you want me to crack on and go back to work? And no one's going to say how mad it was. Right. I've never heard of someone being suffocated for 9 minutes. Never heard of it. And shown on video, and we all just go,
live on the cam.
Right, and the person that did it isn't shot dead. Because had the roles been reversed now...
Oh, what?
Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Brother, that wouldn't have lasted. It wouldn't
have been 9 minutes. No. The same way that mass shootings, if it's a... You know how it goes. So I just felt like it was, for so many, all those reasons that I've just listed and more that I'm sure I've missed, like, it was like, this can't actually run, you know? Furthermore, from our point of view in the music industry, like, we are able to work from home, as difficult as it is in terms, like, other than the live sector, which obviously has taken a massive blow because of the pandemic. Like, we were working, I don't know about you, Seb, but I was working mad hours, like Zoom calls any time of night. Oh, what, you're around? No, trust me, at the beginning, because we were all, I guess, worried that we had to overcompensate. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, raw, is this gonna work? Like, there was artists that we were trying to sign. Like, it was all going on.
Just trying to figure it out. Yeah,
and when we first got told we were working from home, it was like, we're gonna just try it for 2 weeks, and then we'll be back.
We haven't
been back in a year and a half. Do you know what I mean? So it was it was all just a weird time. And so, I think it was odd because we weren't in the office, and like Sheryl said, it wasn't that thing of just gotta crack on. It wasn't actually that. It was just like, right, you know what? I'm sitting at my kitchen table, and I've just had a label meeting, for example, or just whatever meeting you had that day, or the day after, or whatever, and you're just like, man, this is mad.
And this is going to your point, because the conversations in workspaces, they weren't. Leadership wasn't bringing it up.
No,
it was. If black people had allowed it, black people and their allies had allowed it, it would have been business as normal.
100%. They wouldn't even have spoken about it. Somebody in my chambers
sent round an email, and that triggered a course of discussions. But in workspaces and workplaces everywhere, leadership were fucking bird box and mute about it. And that said too much. That said too much.
But that has been the norm, because obviously George Floyd, he's not the first person that got killed, or even, it's not even like he was the first person in a while. That these are happening at a thick and fast rate. And I think for us, it was like, hold on. So we were just, I guess you start talking in your silos, and it's just like, oh, like, you know, it wasn't the three of us, but, you know, it's just like, I'm on this call. It's like, you lot, like, what are you saying? And Shara and Afriye, who are the co-founders of the Debrief platform that I've got alongside them, we were just having a catch up that day anyway. So we started talking about it. They're also having their conversations. And it was like, you know what, we're all just going to get on a call. Like, and then the show must be paused. The US arm kind of, you know, made this announcement that we're doing Blackout Tuesday. And
so this is like a year to the, well, maybe a couple of days.
A year to the week now.
A week now.
Yeah. It's the same week. So it was about a week after George Floyd's murder. And like, we all just resonated with the movement. And I know a lot of people, especially outside of the industry, they were just kind of like, oh yeah, but what's posting a black square gonna do? And what's
there was like a lot of people was there were people that were skeptical on it.
Yeah.
See, for me, sorry to interrupt you, right?
It's fine.
The way that I saw it was, of course, we know that there's like a lot of things that need to be. We know that there's like a bigger thing that needs to happen for there to be change. We know that, and yes, we also know that conspiracy theories are a thing. But there's a real life thing that is going on anyway in the system. So because this pissed me off. Like, when a couple of times I'm on the phone now and people are hitting me about these mad conspiracy theories, I'm like, I hear all this conspiracy theory shit, but I went through some shit, and people I know have gone through some shit, and there's a systematical thing that's happened or whatever, or been happening or whatnot. So even fuck that for a minute, and actually, it's like taking the sense out of nonsense. Do you get what I'm saying? Right, okay, cool. You know that there's something good, but there's actually a real life conversation. Like, just try to tap into that for a minute. Fuck the conspiracy theory and all of this type of shit. 100%. Like, there's something happening. Like, actually just pay attention to that. So this is why, even with the square thing, I'm like, look, if this is a way to make people, at least someone, think about something for a second, let's just roll with that for a minute. Then we can go on to the next thing and look at what it is that we need to do. You understand what I'm saying? But if we all had the attitude of, well, what is that going to do? Well, what is this going to do? How do we affect change then?
We can't. And I think also it was more of a, a lack of understanding about why it was significant that it was a Tuesday and what it really meant for everybody to effectively down tools for that day.
Why was it a Tuesday? I didn't
because know. in like the working week in music, we kind of work towards a Thursday night, Friday morning release schedule. So like New Music Friday and all that kind of stuff, yeah? So Tuesday is a day where if you're not patterning your shit by Tuesday for a release...
then
your release is
on Friday's
it's looking higgy.
Yeah.
You might get it out, it's not ideal.
Yeah. You'll get it over... You might get over the line, but it's a stumbly one.
It's higgy.
It's just,
But like certain, like, I don't know, production delivery dates are a Wednesday. And I don't get me wrong, effectively you should have done that. Shouldn't be the week of, but there's just certain things like the Tuesday is a significant part of the week. Yeah, and most people wouldn't. It's, you know, unless you do it.
Down tools on
but down in tools on that day is important for that reason. But also it signifies the fact that if all the black staff in these music companies, because it was music focused, most of us are at junior, intern level, maybe mid-management, and then you've got a couple of the heavy hitters who, you know, the Rickies, the Glyns, the Benny Scars, Twin, who are, you know, there's a lot of them. I don't want to miss anyone out, but we know that the characters and the major players, and there are more of them now, but for a long time, there was really not that many. Do you know what I mean? So it's like...
that's
so if you've only got... See, the people at the top of any company, they're not doing the work every day. Yeah. They're not the ones that are keeping the engine running. It's all the people.
It's you lot,
right?
Yeah, it's the ones that are
down to
right. So if we say, you know what, we agree with the show must be paused US. Like, we're in the same boat. We resonate with this. We don't agree with this, and
they're pissed actually because you know what it is, Not all of the time, but sometimes. See, like the ones that are like on the higher ups and that, they don't have the ear to the ground like that because they employ people to have their ear to the ground like that.
Exactly.
So if the people that have got the ears are not there, then things can't run.
Exactly. And so that was the thinking behind it. And obviously the black squares we're living in a social media time. That kind of thing is effective. The same way for Fire Festival, they got all the influencers to post orange squares. Like, it's not, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that there's not a conspiracy behind whatever, but realistically, from the inside, that's the way I saw it, and I was like, you know what, that's a really good idea, and we're already in this pressure cooker, and all of us are, you know, there are more of us than ever as black people in the industry doing great work, like en masse, in a way that before it was a one in one out thing. There was a couple of us and
cherry picked.
We had to work in a certain way and wear a certain face and kind of package our artists a certain way, but I would say from 2016 onwards.
It's changing. You know what? All you got to do now is look at some of the parties that's happening.
Right.
What? Like before, when you go to like, I know like a couple of times, like back in the day, like when like Benny's my guy, So like when he was doing his thing with like his A&R in and whatnot, and so we'd go to a couple of the parties and that, and it was like, I'm here. Like this is good because I'm here, but it's not feeling. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm here, you know. It was the only parties that were.
It's a little bit stiff.
It was a bit stiff. Yeah. A bit stiff. Yeah. But the only one that was like a vibe was Reggie Yates' party. Yeah. That was a vibes. But then now, like the parties that Glyn and them man are hot. When I go to them, I'm like, I can. You know what I'm saying? It's just and it's like the man and the people are, it's a proper vibe still. So
it's
you can see it's just changing now.
Yeah, and obviously it should. It's overdue. Like we've been doing amazing work. Like all of those guys that you just mentioned and I mentioned, plus more. They've been making strides forever in much harder circumstances too. But yeah, there's a lot of us now. But it's like we can't all just exist separately and we can't all just keep running our own race because effectively we've got to be in this together. And so we took that day as a day to just be like, you know what, we're going to link up. So we had this massive Zoom call and effectively...
Is this the meeting?
This was a meeting,
right,
but it was very informal.
We can't gloss over this because there's a lot of people that don't know what this was,
Yeah.
So there was...
So Blackout Tuesday was announced by the Show Must Be Paused, which is in America. So two women, Jamila and Brianna, who one works at Platoon, one is now at Motown. She just got a new, is it SVP position? Just announced, I think, yesterday. They were spearheading that. Two black women who just said, you know what, enough now. Do you get me? And they spearheaded that, and we were chatting and going back and forth with them and just said, cool, we're back in this also. And so we all had this conversation amongst all of ourselves, and like initially like in little groups, and then when Tuesday came, Blackout Tuesday, it was just like, yeah, you know what, I'm not working today. And because there was whispers of that throughout the industry, there were some of the companies like Warner, who I work for, they were like, yeah, we're happy for you lot to observe this day, like no problem.
Right.
And I do think, like to your point earlier, I think those companies were just like, right, okay, cool, like you lot do whatever it is that you need to do. We stand in solidarity. You know, everyone posted their pledges of anti-racism and all of that, which is, you know, a great stand to make, but that's all it was at that point, and that was fine. So Blackout Tuesday come now, and again, this is a very informal thing. This wasn't like we all sat like, you know, plotting like we're gonna do. It was just, it was honestly vibes.
I heard about a meeting that was like a very kind of important meeting.
That was actually a precursor. That was a separate thing. I wasn't actually at that meeting.
Oh, okay.
It was just about it was an industry-based thing, and it was just like, oh, you know what do we all think of this collectively? How is this going to affect our artists, whatever? But I wasn't privy to that, so I'd rather not
fair.
talk on it, because I went there. But that was kind of the precursor. That was just before George Floyd. And so it was just like, we're all in lockdown. As you can imagine, it's a busy industry. It's rare that you're going to get all of us in a room at one time if it's not like the Brits or, do you know what I mean? So it was like, we can do this on Zoom. Like everyone's just, yeah, cool. Like, yeah, what you saying? So that was kind of the precursor to it. And then fast forward a week now to Blackout Tuesday, and we did it again. So it's just word of mouth, innit? Everyone's just like, yeah, this is a Zoom link. Like, we're just going to link up, talk about the state of play and like where we're at, how far away are we? You know, we've got people like me who've, you know, I'm pretty new technically, and I'm not super high up in the industry compared to the Glyns, the Rickies, the Twins, Jackie Davidson. Like, there's some legends that have been.
Jackie, I'm definitely gonna 100%
every time.
Need to call you. Like, I love Jackie. I used to work with Jackie.
Exactly. So, it's like too many to mention, but there's been so many people who have operated at different periods of time of this industry in this country and faced maybe different challenges, but at the core of it, it's the same. It's the same. And like, maybe, you know, now it's a bit easier because there's strength in numbers, there's more of us, and, you know, there's certain challenges, like I was saying before, like 2016 hit, and the type of music that black artists were allowed to make was different. Skepta comes through with Shutdown and That's Not Me, and Meridian Dan, German Whip, Kojo Funds, Young Bane, Jay Huss. Like, there was an influx from 2016 onwards to now, which is still happening right now, and we're still not even touching the surface of where this is going to be. We're literally right at the start.
Of everything.
Yeah, but right then, that was when it all changed, because before that, like, not because it was bad, but we had to really repackage and repurpose ourselves and our sound and how we presented to be non-threatening to, you know, like, remember when Skepta was making tracks for the party islands, which, don't get me wrong, they were cold. Like, see, amnesia. He was fucking
I mean, let's be clear, some of them weren't. Some of them aged well, and some of them, and also some of them will not do them at their shows anymore, and some of them will also, like, not, they'll just not want to hear it. But you know what though, I say all of that to say this, they needed to do that.
They had
to do that.
It was a survival thing, do you get me? And it was like, it was a very important mark to me, just in the journey of black music in this country. It was just like, you know what, 2016 come, I'm at the Brits in my trackie.
Strong.
Tell me something. Who's gonna tell me anything? Or when Kanye come and do the Brits with all the
shit, remember that? And then like Skepta, like 100 man was there in the
at the time for us, this, like, we can look back on it now because of how everything's progressed since, and be like, that was just sick. But if we really sit down and think about it, that was completely revolutionary. And even the people at the time that were like, but what, you went and you're Kanye's backing dancers. It's like, no, like, you're so short-sighted. You want us to stay in the gutter. No, you don't get what this is. Like, this is a spectacle. Do you remember the little clip that Skepta used on his finger? It's like, on primetime television. Because that is the outrage. So all of a sudden now, we're able to take up space that there wasn't enough of us that had the power, the voice, the platform, the autonomy to do that. So fast forward now to 2020, and what, you're going to kill a black man on camera for 9 minutes and then tell us yeah, he's still walking around free because he's a police officer. It was lawful. It's like, no, that cannot work. So it was very much that call that we did that day. It was just not to overlap brands, but it was a debrief. Like we actually all had to debrief and really just say like, right, like how are you feeling? Because at work we're not getting asked that by our white counterparts. Do you know what I mean? And
no one's asking you how you're feeling. No one even knows that you're gonna be feeling. So that's my kind of, that was like, you know, I have some views, but you know, this might not be the time for them. But though the views that I had were almost like underscored and underlined when I just saw. So you guys can just go on as normal and not even check in. I bet. Okay. Right. Okay.
So was that essentially the birth of the Black Music Coalition?
Inadvertently, because we didn't. Because on that day,
went out.
Because on that day, we literally I was just not part of the crowd in a bad way, but we weren't in charge of anything. It was just like, boom, like this is a Zoom link. Like we all shared. I can't remember who initiated it. There was other people. There was Whitney Boateng, who was one of the original founders of it.
She works at William Morris now, right?
Yes.
She just recently started.
Just got a great new job there. There was Faye Hoyt, also, who's marketing director at EMI. Who was also started out with us. She's on maternity leave right now, so she's taking a step back. Big up Faye. But there was kind of after that chat, and we all debriefed, we chopped it up, like we shared stories, and this is still happening and that's still happening. And then it was just like, okay, cool, like we're gonna go away, think about this, and really work out what we want to do differently. And so off the back of that, Sheryl and I, Afriye and Shah, Whitney and Faye, we all kind of, I don't know, we just took charge, I think, as Black women do. Right. And not without any input from anyone else. It wasn't that, but it was just like, you know what, like we're just going to crack on in it and we're going to consult the whole group, and whoever's riding's riding. But we penned this open letter to the industry. And that was really, I guess, the real birth of the Black Music Coalition, because we felt like, you know, that's not to say there's not other organisations that exist already. There are plenty, but, you know, sometimes it is a thing of timing and how we're going to amplify all of these voices and all of this work that's been being done. It's not that we're not reinventing the wheel at all here, but it's just like you got to seize the moment. But we really didn't start this thinking that it would end up in the Black Music Coalition. That was like, honestly
I don't even think at that stage, when the letter was being crafted, that like I knew of the conversations through Shah. So Shah and I are really good friends. We've known each other for like over 20 years. So then she brought the letter to my attention, and I was reading it and saying, maybe like, I don't know, change this bit, just like looking it over. And then she kept, right? No, semicolon done. Done. So basically, grammar gang. So just looking at it and just, you know, on the friendship side, just talking about what was going on and me talking about what's going on in my profession and sharing stories. And those conversations were regular because me and Shah speak regular anyway. And then I think after it went out, then there was like, there's more work to be done, because this letter now has set out like 5 calls to action.
And where was the letter going? Like, for people who don't know, like you've put a letter together, but where was this letter to go?
So literally it hit press, but it was speaking to the industry, and it was speaking to the echelons of the industry, saying like this stuff.
So
and there was 5 things that were on this letter.
So it's like literally the CEOs, chairmen of a lot of the labels, a lot of the music companies, Spotify, like just across the board, as many as we could really reach in that time. And like just saying, this is what it is. And
Do you remember what was, like, obviously you would, but what was on the letter so that people know, like some of the things.
Take it away.
So one of them was about the letter set out about the use of the word urban. The lack of Black people in high senior positions. Honestly,
there was one about like mandatory anti-racism training.
Training. and anti-oppression training, across the board for staff. And these things.
There was one that said for each company to commit a specific annual budget to financially support black organisations.
Yeah.
That was there.
And that was really off the back of all the pledges, because a lot of the companies off the back of George Floyd's murder and posting their black squares and their messages of solidarity, they were like, we've got this $100 million fund.
Oh yeah,
There was a lot of funds that were pledged, and which
You got another fund.
You got another fund,
which obviously on the surface sounds great, but there's a lot of red tape in that, and $100 million dollars. Where is that allocated? Who does that go to? Who really sees it?
Over what period
all of these things. So it's like, it's all well and good pledging that on social media and everyone going, oh yeah, this is great, but it's like, okay, but who's even logistically, have you even got enough black people that work for you that can even advise on how this is best spent?
That's it. So it was all of those things, and all of the calls to action weren't like plucked out of just the air. They were like things that
on that call that we did on Blackout Tuesday, these were the issues. These were the overarching issues. They weren't the only ones, but the ones that on average everybody sort of raised. And it was a start. And even I know the urban point was a little bit contentious for some people, because because it's a different context here than it is in the US. Like the US, urban denotes like autonomy, and that is, they're proud of that word. They've worked for that word, which is fine. It's really semantics, but here
we originally had black though.
That
was like one extra was saying like number one for black music.
Exactly, and then
that was
urban,
Choice FM that was their thing. Anyway.
Exactly. But urban kind of came in my view, as a way to open up black music to non-black people.
Yeah, it was a way, I think, to maybe make it feel inclusive.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was specifically and purposefully to disenfranchise black people. I said it. Take it back my top.
Well,
No,
essentially, that's what happens when you take a word like that and you switch it to make it inclusive, because that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Essentially, by doing that.
Exactly. And just like, it just meant that if you were an urban artist, you're automatically looked at in a certain way. You're now only eligible for certain opportunities as an artist, or as whatever, if you're working in that urban space.
But it would have been exactly it would have been the same, if not worse, when you use the word black, purely because for so many years we've been conditioned to believe that just say the word itself sounds so mad, like oh black, like you know what I'm saying, like oh shit, like yo,
oh my God.
We're gonna say urban, we're still gonna treat you the same type of way-ish,
still gonna treat you black,
but we just it makes it just feel a bit more comfortable, but it's still a bit
easier to say.
And it also means that we can sneak in whoever from our side that's really the main thing, because the treatment is still the same, but again, it's about the power of words and what you can put in or take out of them. And so in the UK, it's meant that, if you're working on urban artists, you're fighting for smaller video budgets than their white counterparts. Like you're kind of like, you're seen as less than. It's an urban division, it's less than. Whereas in the States, they've come full circle now, and urban means where I hope we're going, and it's like, no, this is, they were doing that with the word black to them, what they did to us with urban. So obviously it's, context with different countries, slightly different struggles and situations, but for us that was really important, just to open up a conversation, because it's hard being in a room when you're talking about black music and you feel like people are looking at you like it's mad that you said it's black music. It's not mad,
I know.
It's the truth. Do you get me?
And ain't no one saying that like you can't do it. Like, you can. No one ain't said that. You can't
just accept
do it.
what you're doing.
This is it. This is what it is.
What you're doing. Like, you're doing black music.
Acknowledge it. Pay homage.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Include us all. Be fair with payments. All these things. Like, it's very multi-layered. So so all of those aims with in that payments, open letter.
This is deep.
Yeah. No, it's deep. So I felt like that was how we based those points off. Yeah. And literally, bearing in mind, just for the record, for anyone that doesn't know, obviously we all work in music and we're doing this, but we're not qualified. Like this is something that is just born out of pure passion and, you know, emotion. We're upset, we're rattled by what is happening and all the experiences that we're going through in a lockdown as black members of staff wherever we work, and people like Sheryl's not in music, but it's the same shit, different toilet. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a society issue, and the music industry and the Black Music Coalition really is some microcosm for wider issues that happen to all of us, no matter what we do. And it just felt like, raw, cool, everyone's behind this. There's a need for this. People are like, raw, like, I didn't have anyone to talk to. This is happening to me at work. I didn't know anyone to even reach out to get advice or whatever. And it just felt,
emails and messages were just like, whoa,
mind blowing.
Yeah, proper mind blowing.
What, a year on?
Yeah.
What's changed?
Man, you gotta get Music Week, Chuckie. Because we speak about that.
I saw this. I posted it on my LinkedIn.
Did you?
Oh. Sick.
Yeah, you gotta get that because that's
Down
what
a little bit.
I still can't believe that we've done that.
That's nuts, you know. This is cold still. I can't lie.
It's mad, isn't it?
Right?
This
It's
is cold.
proper mad.
We're cover girls.
This is cold.
I was nervous. Let me not
But
lie.
in a nutshell, what has though? What would you say has?
Incremental steps have been made. Conversations are easier. People that look like us can now say
Conversations
things
are easier.
and say them with our chest,
Right.
and not
100%.
feel like we have to
Tiptoe
kind of
around it.
tiptoe or toe the line or just misshapen yourself to get a point across. Like, I think people are just being more open and honest on the black side, and I think on the other side, the maybe where the power used to be held and certain attitudes used to be able to reside, it's now like, people are knowing that they have to come a bit better, a lot
100%,
better.
100%.
So it's, but the thing is, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Absolutely.
And I know that's
You have to take small steps to make big effects, innit? You can't just leap. It just doesn't work like that. You know, each step means something.
And just to go on something that Komali said as well, it was like, you know, all of these moves and things that we're trying to do as the Black Music Coalition, people have come before us and tried to do and have done, and there have been, you know, elements of success. But what we're actually doing is not new. The reason why we're able to move forward, and I feel like we are moving forward, is because we're seizing the day, and because, and this brings it right back around to George Floyd. You can't act like you don't know anymore.
For real.
You cannot. Nobody can sit there and act brand new and act like they don't know about the issues. That ain't happening. So there's that reckoning. So you have to kind of be like, okay, let me pay attention now. Right? So that's a big difference. I don't think people can hide behind kind of ignorance or faux naivety. It's like, nah, you see what it is, and then because of the things that have come up because of it, the things that people are saying, like the shit that's gone on in certain industries and in certain workspaces, like, and they're outed now. They're outed. This ain't like a whispering thing. They're outed now. Then if leadership really are leaders, they have to be seen to be dealing with it. So there's, even if you don't want to be dealing with it, you're gonna have to deal with it now.
And I think with the Black Square, I think with like a lot of people that I spoke to and just in general, like that Black Square obviously was thrown up by all of us, but any of the businesses or whatever that threw up, it's kind of like, alright, cool, so you understand what we're going through. You're actually paying attention, so that's like a what do you call it, a social contract now. Do you know what I mean? Like you threw it up, so now it's our job to make sure we're sticking to the program of moving forward. Do you know what I mean?
Sticking it on there.
Instead of going like,
unless that was a performance. Unless she was just.
I mean, well, naturally, there's going to be some, like,
of course,
you know, some performity. I know that's not a word, but there's going to be some of that, because some people are going to want to feel like they just don't want to stand. They just want to be in the crowd a bit, because they don't want to.
But I think that's where, you know, most if not all of them have at least one black person that works for them. A lot of these companies, and that's where we step in, you know, especially like on the independent side, where the board I sit on, where we've literally been talking to loads of the companies and just basically letting their staff know that we're there. So if they do have these little incidents with such and such, or these sort of feelings, obviously if it's all white workforce, they can't go there.
Right.
But they can jump on the phone and be like, you know, talk. And it's like, all right, cool. You remember we had that phone call, whatever the company is, maybe your steps aren't right that you're taking. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's not a thing of like calling people out and being like, oh, you're right or wrong. It's like, you want to move forward, right? You threw out the black sway, you've realised obviously you can be a better person, do better business, whatnot. Let's all do that then. Do you know what I mean? There's no reason why we should go back to the nepotism that once existed in the music industry and all of these things if we're already moving forward. And especially with black culture being at the forefront of everything. We're at the 100%. Forefront of fashion, music, film, whatever. Everything. So I think that's why this moment was able to happen a year ago, because at the moment, it's, you know, it's in such a rich place that it was like, actually, how comes it's doing so well, we've come so far, but we're still seeing what could be our dad or our brother being killed. Do you know what I mean?
And also, it's like, more to your point, it's like before, cool, we had the odd artist that was, not the odd artist, because we've got a rich history, but in terms of like really having chart success and really moving the dial, it was much fewer and further between. But now, if you look at the charts, if anyone...
Oh, it's a mad thing.
Like, it affects their bottom line now. All of these companies, not just I'll speak on music because that's what I do, but like, these companies can't ignore that now because we're making you too much money.
Yeah, for real.
We're making too much money, and the artists, they're younger. They're not from this generation where it's like put up and shut up. That's not what we're on. Do you get me? Like, and that's not what I'm on either. Like, I'm young enough to be just like, no, I didn't grow up on that. Do you get me? So, like, maybe your star black artist is going to be like, raw, what, you're not backing the movement. Alright, cool, I'm not showing up to work then, or might not continue with you. And these things matter, and this isn't a black issue, but that's just like people going on strike. That kind of action has an effect because it affects a company's bottom line. And if that's how far we have to go to prove our worth, to make us, you know, be able to be valued more in future and get better pay and better opportunities, and, you know, reduce our lack of upward mobility in these companies, and dropping off at mid-management if we're lucky, if not internships. And now we're forced into doing, I'm just doing my own thing. I've got to make my own record label, my own this, my own that, because black people can and will. But that shouldn't be for everybody. We're not all just hustlers because we're black. Do you get me? But you get me? Like, also, but we need to fight for black mediocrity too. Fact. We should be able to be mediocre.
Like, honestly,
you should be able to get the promotion.
I should be able to just do my little 9 to 5.
And progress up there.
And just be cool with that. And not feel like, right, you know what?
Everyday black excellence. Right. Black basic.
Yeah, that's for real.
You like the basic package.
But I say that to say even that is more from the aspect of like, not everyone needs to go, and it shouldn't be set up. It shouldn't have to be a thing where everyone feels like they need to go and start their own business and stuff like that. Like, sometimes just the promotion in here and then and building up through that is nice. And I think that for a long time you weren't seeing that in the music industry in particular. It was almost to a point, and then maybe that person would move on and go somewhere else, and it would still be to that point. Do you get what I'm saying? Now you're starting to see more man-like, you know.
And because we can, and we should,
and it's supposed to be that way. Yeah, it's supposed to be that way. Especially if the music is going in the direction that it's going in, it's supposed to. The industry is supposed to reflect that, as far as I'm concerned.
100%.
And it's good that I'm starting to see that. It's good that I'm starting to see, you know, I'm ringing certain man and they're flipping doing certain things. I'm like, wow, flipping, this is crazy.
It's incredible. And and I think it is though. And I think we've all worked hard enough to get there. And
there's still a damn long way to go still. And I don't think that we're ever gonna be, not even just in this situation here, but just in life, like, we're just never ever going to live in harmony ever.
Yeah, and I'm cool with that.
Who?
The world.
Oh right.
No, that's
like, the nature of man.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So with that, there's always going to be some type of.
Oh, sorry.
And we trying to chat at my man.
Sweets.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah. What happened to this rice thing?
I'll pass them around now.
But
I'm good, thank you, love.
But yeah, there's always going to be some type of conflict and some people pitting people against each other and whatnot. But that doesn't mean that we can't try to always strive for what we feel is right and what is justice.
Yes.
You get me?
Yes. And I think that's really at the heart of what we're doing. And like Sheryl said, it's not a sprint. It is definitely a marathon. And all the people that have come before that have tried to do this work, and all the people that are going to come after, all we can do is make it easier for the next kind of lot.
100%.
But yeah, and also back to Seb's point, because we not glossed over it, but obviously after the open letter, and then we formed as the Black Music Coalition, there was a couple of the members of the Indie Committee that, which is now the Indie Committee, approached us and was just like, yeah, like, obviously we're so supportive of what you're doing, we're really into it, but we feel like it was quite major and corporate level facing, and actually there's a lot of work to be done in the indie space, and arguably more so because there's obviously it's you're independent minded, like literally it's in the like independent labels, companies, like you're not all Warner or all Sony or
we're only
Universal.
small, innit? Like we're just,
right.
Just
and you might be the only black
now.
person on your team if you work at like an indie label or at a small management company. And so, you know, if you're in a situation where your boss is treating you unfairly based on your race or anything like that,
you just don't see the career paths. Like you are literally like,
and it's hard to say. It's not. It's hard to say. Oh, who do you tell? Who you gonna call? Do you get, like, you can't do that? And so it was a really great way for us to kind of meet in the middle. And obviously, Seb, I'll let you like talk more on the indie committee. But there's just so much work to be done across the board. It's not just record labels. It's not just live. Like live is another area. Like we are super underrepresented in, considering, you know, you look at the wireless lineup. I can name the black promoters and agents that are active right now on maybe even one hand.
Right.
Wow.
Maybe two, but do you know what I mean? That are known and really making moves and
promoters. It's a myth,
right? Just live across the board on all levels, and so it's like there's so much work to be done, and people just need to pull up. Like that's everyone, and the Black Music Coalition obviously exists now, but it's not a closed door. It's not just us. Like this is it now. It's like, listen, if there's issues, like pull up. Let's all do the work, because we can't do it. Just us. Do you know what I mean? And that's never the plan. Like it is very much it's group work, continuous work, and
it's hard work.
It's bloody hard. Let me tell you that for free. Yeah,
it's hard.
It's
work,
hard,
yo.
you know.
It's
been hard because bear in mind we've all got day jobs that are demanding day jobs.
Right.
It's not. This is, and again, it comes back to Sheryl's her motto of Black Labour is not free.
Black Labour is not free.
And
elaborate.
A lot of
elaborate.
Yeah, I don't work for free. I do not work for free. I am very expensive.
Right. I hear that.
My time and my skill ought to be appropriately remunerated. And that's just fact.
Yeah.
And so should everybody's.
And I think a lot of this work in this space with these companies, it's like you are kind of, as the black person on the team or black people on the team, it's like, oh, so
it falls to you.
What should we do then? What should we talk about? You lead. Oh, everyone's a bit shy. But
it's
like
emotional labour.
Yeah, but I'm traumatized.
Yeah.
I can't talk about this.
I
can't talk about that.
Yeah. And it's it's emotional labour. Sometimes it can be one of the things that you also realise in places where maybe you're an employee, and if you're like the black employee or the the brown employee, and you're taking on all of this like DE&I work, diversity, equality and inclusion work, that can actually steer you away from the work that you're supposed to be doing. 10 months down the line, you come into an appraisal, and imagine some stupid supervisor tells you, oh, well, you haven't really made much movement on these accounts or done. But you're thinking, but hold on, I've got the whole of your DEI strategy on my shoulders. Do you see what I mean? So that people need to recognise the work that it is on so many different levels. And definitely,
and that it's not enough for just us as the black people to do it. Because we know what we go through. It's about the companies and the system to acknowledge gaps and the shortcomings and where they need to improve for everyone. Because ultimately, it does improve.
Acknowledge and act upon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it just highlighted also, I think for a lot of people, maybe like the privileges that they've had. Not obviously those of us in the Black Music Coalition, but you know, some of our counterparts, our work counterparts, that we mess with and rock with normally, for them to be like, right, actually, you didn't go private school, or do you know, that's just little things for them to actually, because there's been like this sort of thing that like, even regardless of where you come from, like race wise in the music industry, like you're all from a similar place or a similar background. Do you know what I mean? I think it just kind of, that period highlighted it and kind of just made people realise, oh, hold on, actually, maybe my Cody that I A&R with actually has come from a disadvantage. Maybe I should bear that in mind. Maybe we should look at these things. How comes we do only have one black person working here? Maybe that's because there isn't enough young kids out there that know they can have a career in it, other than being a rapper or being the rapper's manager. Because that's how I got into it. Do you know what I mean? But you don't know that. It's only as you get into it, you start meeting people like, right, there's a job as A&R. You can do marketing, you can do X, Y, and Z. Whereas, you know, there's other so children who know straight away what they can do with it.
Right.
Yeah.
They just know naturally, and I guess now that there's so many of us here, we kind of have almost like that duty to kind of allow the younger versions of us to know this.
It gives that possibility of being it, because you can see it. Of course. Before you couldn't see it.
Could only see like
brother,
one or two.
I remember, I actually remember when Ben told me that he was doing A&Ring. I was like, oh yeah, that's sick.
Yeah.
What's that?
Fam, I didn't know what that was. I was just like, oh, what, you got the sick.
Yeah.
But I don't know what even that is.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like now you hear that name, you hear A&Ring a lot more now. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And also you're starting to see more managers and you're starting to see that. So like, but that's really important.
There's so many other careers in it. You know, there's law.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
There's finance.
Yeah.
It's obviously not sexy, but some people like to do finance.
Yeah, some people are good with the numbers and that.
Yeah.
There's
so many
promoters
careers in it.
Yeah, promoters, the live side of it and whatnot.
There's digital advertising. There's so much
advertising. Yeah. And the advertising thing now is like quite an exciting role in terms of like organizing brand partnerships and all of those type of things. That are a lot more, they're a lot more reachable now than they were before. Do you get what I'm saying? There's so many brand collaborations that can be made through doing stuff like that,
Exactly.
which makes the job even more exciting now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah, you lot are doing some great work, man, and it's good. I love the energy in that. I love what it is that you stand for and how important that this is to you, and that like even when, you know, there may seem like there's times where it's quiet. It's not really though.
It's not.
It's not really.
Never.
Yo, you lot will pull up.
Never.
You lot will pull up.
Yeah. Come and look in our WhatsApps. It's never quiet.
Yeah, that's good.
Never quiet. Sometimes you have to force the quietness.
That's good.
You actually do.
Before we leave, there was something that I saw that was on your website. And it said, on the anniversary of the murder of George Floyd, we would like to simply check in with all our friends and allies and ask them, how are you doing? So I'm asking you on a real one, like, how are you?
That's
deep. Still,
we got.
You know what? I'm very excited about. I think we are in a really, really good space as people that are working within black music in the UK right now. I feel honoured to be part of that movement and this time. I think we're going to look back at this and be like, wow, like this was a real seminal moment in what this is going to become and already has been. But I think it's hard, like it's difficult. We do have different challenges. We are working against all odds. Do you know what I mean? And I also don't want to backtrack too far from this question. But
yeah, because you're doing but I want to know how you.
No, I know. You know what I was going to say? No,
he's home.
Yo, we.
You know what I was going to say? You know why?
Because, yo, I just want to hear
You know why? Because I wanted to mention our manifesto. That so after the open letter, we created a manifesto which literally is our roadmap to what we're doing with the Black Music Coalition and some of the things that you touched on in terms of, you know, educating the next generation of what their opportunities are, like highlighting the legacy, showing you what the history is. Because, for example, like Jackie Davidson, like she's been part of records as a manager and you know, managing songwriters that like they've made prolific music and not just for black artists.
No,
for
white artists.
Like, you get me?
Stone cold, absolute smash hits to the highest degree.
Right, like Wayne
I couldn't
Hector.
believe. You know what? When I
Wayne
was working
Hector.
with Jackie, I didn't even know that she was. Like, I didn't know that she was that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She was just like she was like an auntie to me.
Yeah.
But also like just so very helpful and like watching her was quite inspiring. Like how she was grinding and like picking up. I was always very timid in like picking up the phone and asking for things or whatever. Jackie's not that. She's picking up the phone and asking for whatever it is, no matter how, you know, ambitious or ambiguous it is or whatever. She's just on job. And it was only until like over a period of time like working there, I'm starting to realize, oh, what? Like she's managing this done.
Yeah.
And he wrote this. And there's certain, oh my God. I'm like, it's a
crazy.
whole, and I look back at that even now and I'm like, fuck, like we ain't talked about that enough.
Right. So that's
Westlife and all them man.
Westlife, you know? Wayne Hector, like these people, Jinjin, Camille, Dio, like there are black songwriters past and present, that have been involved in incredible songs that aren't just for us. And sometimes it's made to feel like we can only do the stuff that's for us. And that's why, so just back to the manifesto, I think that's a really important arm, the legacy arm, making sure that we're leaving something behind for people and for, the younger generation to be like, raw, like, oh, I didn't know I could be a songwriter. I thought I had to be the rapper or the singer and that's it. Like, didn't know I could be the engineer. And all of these things. And I feel like, the manifesto is very important. You can read it on our website.
Money's on the job, you know.
Yeah, you're on it. Do you know what? Let's stop there. I'm coming back to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm coming back to you. How are you, bro? How are you?
I'm good, you know. Yeah. I'm very good, brother. I'm very good. Can't complain, in all honesty.
Right.
Things are good, man. I'm just literally processing a lot of things still.
Right.
Because it constantly is. And I guess, at the moment, little thing for me personally is obviously going back to like what you said, obviously the videos that you see of Hyde Park and in Birmingham, and just like some of the energy that these younger kids have, and then also thinking about obviously the images that we're portraying by the music. Do you know what I mean? Like just kind of like just sort of like the energy we're putting out music wise, and then the energy that is out there in these young people. Just kind of looking at it and thinking as an A&R, like where do I sit in that, and where do I? What's my approach to that? Do you know what I mean? Because personally for me, seeing things like that is literally, that could have been me at that age. Do you know what I mean? Like
100.
Wasn't always A&R-ing. Do you know what I mean? Right. So kind of just makes me think like that sort of thing.
No,
but
ultimately
can't complain, man. It is very good.
So
do you know what? I'm really good as well. And I'm like, so when I'm good, I'm gonna be unapologetic about it.
Right.
So like, I'm really good. I feel really haps right now about like things that are happening, progress that's being made. So I just feel good. And also, what I was gonna say is that, you know, we've spoken about like some really heavy subjects in this podcast, and sometimes I'm always thinking I don't want people. I mean, I don't do anything for the white gaze, but I don't want people to think that the black experience is like all doom and trauma.
No, it's not.
Joyous, man.
No, what's the pod? What's the pod?
Like, honestly,
what's the pod? It's a vibe,
right?
It's a vibe.
Even though we've like spoken about all of these subjects, to be honest with you, I just feel like, and this is like not even hyperbole, like life is lit. Like for me, being a black woman, being a Nigerian, being a Nigerian, it's lit. If I come back again, I'm coming back. I want this.
Yeah.
I want to be black. Right? Like, it's lit.
I don't turn me into no frog, yeah? I want to be black, in London. Yeah?
In London.
Yeah, put me back there, yeah? Or if you're going to put me somewhere further from there, put me in Hertfordshire so I can get to London.
Yeah. Don't put me in Luton or them. Like, it's good. Life is good, and we're just on a positive one. Yeah, we give thanks all the time.
So how are you?
I'm good. Right. I'm really good. Things are going well. Like I said, some days are difficult, and you are spread a bit thin between your actual day job, this stuff, and just life, innit? And we've all had such a weird year. I think it's just kind of finding time in the middle of all of that to just check in with yourself even. And I think definitely the end of last year I burnt out, and so I'm trying to just not do that again. And I think I've started my mood board, oh, that's good. That's really good. But and I also think like it's really helpful to have like the BMC and the group that we found, like day to day, like we're speaking, especially between me, Afriye and Shah, and our intern Yasmin, like we're just talking all the time, and life is happening like all the time to us. You get me? It's like we're moving, people are having kids, people are getting married, you know what I mean? It's like life is still happening amongst all this madness, and I've just found it very important and strengthening to have like that group there that I know, whether we've got like a wider like group where we all communicate certain things, whatever. And like for example, Joe Kentish being made president of Warner Records the other day as the first black president of Warner Music in the UK ever. Like those things, it's like just to be able to, not like Sheryl said, it's not just the bad stuff, because we're doing amazing work.
There's a lot of good shit happening.
And it's just nice to have a space where you can just like celebrate each other a little bit, pat yourselves on the back, and just go, you know what, you're doing wicked. Because sometimes day to day in this job, it's rare that you feel like that. Even when things are going good, it's a more money, more problems thing. Do you get me? It's just like, oh, like cool, you got a number one, but can you do it for 2 weeks? Can you do it for free? Do you get it's kind of never ending. And I think I think just as a whole, I'm trying to do better at just appreciating the moment and where I'm at and the good stuff, and
definitely
and just enjoying it, man, because there's a lot to enjoy. So as a whole I'm good, but I'm working on my balance.
Yes, that's it. That's it. I respect it. We give thanks. Before you leave then, what is one thing that people need to know and like they just need to know about? Obviously we know about you, so make it outside of it. So it can be a song, it could be a Instagram page, it could be literally anything. What is one thing that you feel that people should know about? It could be a documentary, could be anything.
I just want to do a shameless plug.
Go on.
Yeah, go on. Is it an artist? Go on, you can do it. Yeah, go on. That works.
Absolutely.
Go on, that works.
Because I've already shouted Hamza out at the beginning of the pod.
Yeah, go on.
But my other artist, Manelia, is just incredible. In my personal
Tell me
view,
a song.
She really burst onto the scene with Say Yeah.
All right, cool.
Early 2020. And her latest release, Senseless. It's just that good quality, high quality R&B.
I've got that there.
And she's British, but there's a whole, the whole UK R&B conversation. Like, it's dead. It's not about that. It's just the fact that she's excellent. Right. And she's an amazing writer. She's black. She just had a baby. Right. She is killing the game, and she's one to watch. And just, it's just I think it's an exciting time for that space in music. Sure. There's amazing girls coming up, and it's just a privilege to, again, just going back to my point of like, we're really at the cusp of something. I just feel so privileged to even be in the mix working with artists like that are going to just move the dial for us all in our work and in culture and space. She definitely, I feel, is at the forefront of that. So everyone should check out Manelia, Say Yeah, shoot Senseless After 6 EP, and we've got more coming. Your turn, Sheryl.
Anything.
Like, I just really want to say that Komali's just my don.
Check her out.
Check out Komali.
I know. She knows why I'm saying it. Like, I really, really love her, and you said. Yeah, just, you know, in the words of Drake and Future, life is good.
Yeah, but is there something that anything that someone needs to like? Did you watch anything recently that banged, or a tune, or like a brand? Is there like a brand that you like recently started rocking with that you? I'll give you some time. Seb, what you got?
Do you know what? I stumbled across the Dave Chappelle podcast the other day.
Oh,
Midnight Miracle.
I listened to that. Yeah,
It's cold. It's cold. Yeah, it's pure jokes, like proper.
Okay.
Early morning set me up in a good vibe for the day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right,
so I'll probably say that.
All right, sick. Go on then, quickly.
I don't know what to say.
Really?
No, I really don't. Okay, so I told you, like, I'm supposed to be filming some stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I just can't get into it. I would talk about it. I'm supposed to be like even right now, I should have captured this because.
Oh, okay.
I just can't get into it though.
I hear that.
Into it. So it's just, it's good. I'm good. Everything's good.
Don't worry, you're gonna come back again. We're gonna talk some law stuff. We need to do that. I think that would be a really good episode. But listen, honourable shout out to you. You know, I appreciate you honestly. Like, it's amazing what you lot are doing, and it's so needed as well. And if you need me for anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Love, bro.
Shout me, man.
But text him first.
Yeah, text me first. Yeah, because I don't answer numbers I don't know. Hey, listen. Thanks for listening, everyone. Yeah. Love.